What is this jasmonic acid? So first we are knowing about the jasmonic acid. It is a plant hormone. It plays a crucial role in regulating plant growth, development and defense mechanism. It belongs to the compound jasmonate and it is derived from linoleic acid, a fatty acid which is found in the plant membrane. Jasmonic acid, it is found in the parts of the plant where it is found in the leaf tissue, in the root, flower, fruit, seed, vascular tissues and specialized structure under stress, and after that we will see how it is transported to other part of the plant. Jasmonic acid in detail. It is an essential hormone for plant survival, balancing growth and defense and enabling plants to adapt the environment. Its signaling pathway offer potential applications in agriculture such as improving crop resisting to pest and enhanced stress tolerance. Jasmonic acid is found in the plant and but it is most concentrated in specific tissue and organ depending on the developmental stage and environmental conditions. So jasmonic acid is abundantly produced in the leaves, especially in response to herbivory and mechanical damage. It helps initiate defense mechanisms such as production of protease inhibitor and secondary metabolites. So jasmonic acid is present in roots where it regulates growth and response to abiotic stress like drought and nutrition deficiency. It modulates root elongation and lateral root formation. In flowers, it is found in the floral tissues including petals, stamen and pollen. So jasmonic acid is essential for flower development, anther dehiscence, pollen viability and successful reproduction. In fruits also it plays an important role in the ripening and defense against pathogen. It influences the production of volatile compound that contribute the fruit aroma. If we see the jasmonic acid in seeds, where it contributes to the process like seed maturation and dormancy regulation. In vascular tissue also, jasmonic acid can be transported through the xylem and phloem, these vascular tissue to all the other parts of the plant, and this systemic movement allowed the coordination of defense response in undamaged tissue as well. So the specialized structure, they are found in the higher concentration in damaged tissue or the region attacked by the herbivorous or pathogen. For example, if animal are eating the leaves of the plants, so it acts as a defense mechanism. It secretes up content so that the animals can't eat it. So its localized production triggers systemic signaling to protect other part of the plant. Jasmonic acid is its distribution in variety depending on the plant species and the environmental conditions as well as the stressor. Now let's see the transport of jasmonic acid in plants. Jasmonic acid and its active forms such as jasmonil isoleucine can move within the plant to coordinate local and systemic response to environmental stimulus. This stimulus ensure that the signal generate in one part of the plant, for example the wounded leaf, can reach other part to prepare them for potential threat. So the mechanism of this jasmonic acid transport is like local transport or long distance transport or active transport. So first what happens in the local transport, the jasmonic acid is produced at the site of the stress and damage. Where there is some sort of stress or damage, where there the jasmonic acid is produced, for example in leaves under herbivory. It may diffuse to the neighboring cell through cell wall space or through plasmodesmata. What is this cell wall space? It is the apoplast, and through plasmodesmata means by the symplast. So for long distance transport, jasmonic acid and jasmonic acid isoleucine are transported between a distant part of the plants by the vascular system, for example from xylem and phloem. So phloem it primary involved in the transporting jasmonic acid isoleucine and its precursor to other tissues, and in xylem it may assist in upwards transport from roots under stress condition like drought. In active transport, specific transport protein facilitate the movement of jasmonic acid and jasmonic acid isoleucine across the cell membrane. For instance, ATP binding cascade transporter, that is ABC transporter, are known to mediate jasmonic acid isoleucine export from cells. Volatile derivatives of jasmonic acid, that is methyl jasmonate, and a volatile form of jasmonic acid. It can diffuse through the air to signal neighboring plants or distant part of the same plant. So once inside a target tissue, these methyl jasmonate can be converted back to jasmonic acid for local action. The pathway of jasmonic acid transport after stress. So stress or wound, that is a damage trigger in jasmonic biosynthesis at the site. For example, damaged leaf, or local signal, that is jasmonic acid initiate defense response in immediate areas. Systemic signaling is that the jasmonic acid and jasmonic acid isoleucine are loaded into the phloem by transporter, and they travel to the other part of the plant to induce systemic acquired resistance, that is the SAR. If we see the target tissue response, when the jasmonic acid or the jasmonic acid isoleucine reach a target tissue, it binds to the CoI1 receptor in the cell, and it activates defense or stress related genes. Now, what are the factors that influence the jasmonic acid? The plant developmental stage, that is, the young plant may transport jasmonic acid more actively as they are moved vulnerably to the stress. So environmental stimuli also is a condition. Pathogen attack enhance jasmonic acid production and transport. Hormonal cross-talk also take place, that is the interaction within the other hormone. Example, salicylic acid, ethylene can modulate the extent and direction of jasmonic acid transport. If we see what is the significance of jasmonic acid transport, it is the systemic acquired resistance, that is SAR. The jasmonic acid transport allow plant to prepare undamaged tissue for potential threat, enhance survival, and the coordinated growth and defense. In this, it helps maintaining a balance between growth and stress responses. So the in stress memory also, jasmonic acid transport and accumulation in distant tissue can prime plant for faster response to further stress. So jasmonic acid is universal plant hormone. It can be found in variety of families, plant families. For example, in crop plant, in rice, wheat, maize, tomato, soya bean. And in medicinal and aromatic plant, for example, mint, tea, and Arabidopsis thaliana, a model plant extensively studied for jasmonic acid signaling pathway and biosynthesis. We will study in detail jasmonic acid signaling pathway. And other than that, fruits and plants in grapevine, in strawberry, and ornamental plants such as jasmine, rose, trees such as willow, poplar, and other example are barley, peanut, and potato. These plant produce jasmonic acid as these parts of their natural it acts as a natural defense mechanism and developing process. So now we will know about the signaling pathway of jasmonic acid. Signaling pathway of jasmonic acid. The signaling pathway began with the perception of jasmonic isoleucine and involving several steps. Perception. Jasmonic acid isoleucine bind to the CoI1, that is coronatin insensitive 1 receptor, part of the SCF, that is skip1 Culin F box complex, which function as a E3 ubiquitin ligase. Then degradation of JAS receptor occurs. In the absence of jasmonic acid isoleucine, jasmonate Zim domain, that is JAS protein, suppress the activity of transcription factor, for example MYC2. Upon binding to jasmonic acid isoleucine to CoI1, jasmonate Zim domain, that is JAS protein, are ubiquitinated and degraded by the 26S proteasome. And then finally activation of transcription factor occur, where the degradation of JAS protein allow transcription factor like MYC2, MYC3, MYC4 to activate JA responsive gene, and these gene then encode protein involved in defense and stress response and secondary metabolite. After that, the downstream response occur, where the activation of specific gene leads to physiological and biochemical changes such as synthesis of protease inhibitor to deter herbivores and production of antimicrobial compound. Now let's see what are the function of jasmonic acid. Jasmonic acid has diverse role in plant biology. In defense mechanism, induce the production of secondary metabolites such as alkaloids and flavonoids. It enhances resistance to herbivores and necrotropic pathogens. It activates the production of protease inhibitor and defense related protein. In growth regulation also it has important role in it inhibits the primary root growth under stress, and it promotes senescence and leaf abscission. This is the role in the growth regulations. And if we see the reproductive development, it regulates flower development, pollen viability and fruit ripening. In stress response, it modulates the plant response to abiotic stress like drought, salinity and mechanical damage. It coordinates with other hormone like ABA, abscisic acid, to balance growth and survival. If we see the crosstalk with other hormone, then the salicylic acid, jasmonic acid often antagonize salicylic acid signaling, particularly in defense response. In ethylene also, jasmonic acid and ethylene cooperate in response to necrotropic pathogen, and in abscisic acid, that is ABA, jasmonic acid interact with abscisic acid during drought and other abiotic stress. The summary of jasmonic acid pathway is like stimulation, example in herbivores and stress, biosynthesis from linoleic acid to jasmonic acid isoleucine formation, then jasmonic acid isoleucine perception by COI1, then degradation of JAS receptor, and then activation of transcription factor, then finally defense and stress responses, which balance the growth, defense and enable plant to adapt their environment. And its signaling pathway offer potential application in improving the crops, resistance in pest, enhancing stress tolerance. This was all about jasmonic acid. Now let's see some applications of jasmonic acid. So jasmonic acid is used in crop protection. It enhances jasmonic acid signaling in crop can improve resistance to pest and pathogen. In abiotic stress tolerance also, it modulation of jasmonic acid pathway help plant adapt to stress like drought and salinity. In biotechnology also, in genetic engineering of jasmonic acid pathway offer opportunity in creating resilient and high yield of crops. So chemical nature of jasmonic acid, it is cyclopentanoid compound derived from linoleic acid, a fatty acid commonly found in plant membrane. Its discovery, it initially identified as a compound associated with floral scent and fruit ripening. So jasmonic acid is now recognized as a versatile signaling molecule in plants. It consists jasmonic acid and jasmonic isoleucine, the bioactive form. Jasmonic isoleucine is the bioactive form and methyl jasmonate is a volatile derivative. So biosynthesis of jasmonic acid, jasmonic acid is synthesized through the octadecanoid pathway, which occur in several cellular components. So initiating in the chloroplast, jasmonic acid biosynthesis begin with alpha linoleic acid. It released from the membrane lipid by lipase enzyme, then LOX convert alpha linoleic acid into 13H pot. That what is this 13H pot? Acid. So this 13H pot is further converted into 12 OPDA, that is oxophytodienoic acid, by the enzyme AOS, that is allene oxide synthesis, and allene oxide cyclase, AOC and AOS, then processing in the peroxisome. So this OPDA is then reduced by OPDA reductase OPR3 to form OPC8:0. So this is then OPC8:0 undergoes beta oxidation to produce jasmonic acid. Then after that what happens? The activation in the cyclosol. So jasmonic acid is conjugated with isoleucine by JAR1. Now what is this JAR1? It is jasmonate resistance 1. It form jasmonate isoleucine, that is JAILE, that is jasmonic acid isoleucine, the bioactive hormone. And after that, signaling pathway of jasmonic acid takes place. The signaling pathway begin with perception of jasmonic acid isoleucine and involves several steps. So perception of jasmonic isoleucine bind to the CoI1 coronatin insensitive 1 receptor. It is a part of SCF skip1 Q F box complex, which function as E3 ubiquitin ligase. Then after that, what happens? The degradation of JAS receptor. In the absence of this JAS isoleucine, jasmonate Zim domain protein suppress the activity of transcription factor, example MYC2. Upon binding to jasmonic acid isoleucine to CoI1, JAS protein are ubiquitinated and degraded by the 26S proteasomes, and after that, activation of transcription factor, that is degradation of JAS protein, allow transcription factor like MYC2, MYC3 and MYC4 to activate jasmonic acid receptive gene, and this gene then encode the protein involved in defense stress response and secondary metabolite. After that, what happened? The downstream response. Activation of specific gene lead to physiological and biochemical changes such as synthesis of protease inhibitor to deter herbivorous, and then production of antimicrobial compound. Then this was all about the jasmonic acid. For more such video, do like, share and subscribe.